Hey guys, happy Monday. This is not my typical vlog, but last week was just a really crazy week for me, and I had so many things that I was trying to get done. I had meetings left and right. I was getting ready for parent conferences on Friday. I got a new student. My son was sick. So there was just a lot going on for me, and I just wasn't in the frame of mind to vlog. It happens, right? So I was sitting down thinking about what should I do for my Monday video, because I have to put something up. It's my New Year's resolution to try to be my very best and put up 2 videos for you guys. And I thought, you know what? I like to watch Plan With Me's, like for planner worlds. So I figured, how cool would it be if I could do a Plan With Me but for lessons? I want to show you how I go about planning my lessons for the week. So if you're interested in seeing how I plan my lessons, how I make those connections on a day-to-day basis for my kids, keep watching. Okay guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and start kind of mapping out my plan for next week. The first thing that I do is I take out my planner. This is a planner that I did a video on. I will leave a link down below if you want to see how I plan and how I set up my teacher planner. So I keep pretty much all the dates in 2 spots. I keep them here, but then I'll also keep them on my personal planner. So the first thing I do is I kind of take a look as far as what's happening next week. So I know that I have a faculty meeting in the afternoon. We have mentors, high school mentors that come in and assist us during math on certain days. I have the teacher appreciation luncheon, and then I also have Valentine's party on Friday. So these are all kind of things that I kind of take into consideration when I'm doing it. I also have morning duty this week, so I know in the mornings my time constraints are going to be really limited. So let me show you what my teacher planning sheet will look like. This is how I kind of map everything out. I don't use this as my actual lesson plan format. That I use something totally different for. I am not one of those people that is able to sit at a computer and be able to type everything up as I'm planning it out. I don't know why. I'm just not like that. I have to have this written out first before I can actually sit down and write out my actual lesson plans. So I'm also going to show you certain things that I pull to help me get ready for my lessons. One of the first things that I like to pull out is a weekly planning checklist. I made this last year, I believe is when I made this one. I like it because it kind of keeps me on track as far as what are the things that I need to be pulling and planning for. So then I have my to plan, and this is what I'm going to focus on with you guys right now. And that's my reading, my high frequency word, phonogram, letter and sound, poem, skill, and then my phonological. I also need a plan for writing, math, and then focusing on centers as well in math, and then my literacy centers, small groups, and a craft. The next is my pacing guide. So my county came up with this, and it kind of gives me an idea of what I need to be teaching and the standards that I need to be focusing on. The next item that I pull out is this. So my reading coach helped make this actual template. But if you have ever seen Hello Literacy, she has an amazing blog, and she has so many resources available and so many fantastic ideas. But she has these units that she has created on Teachers Pay Teachers, and it's based on phonological awareness lessons, but it ties back into the book. And I really like it because, again, I am all about making connections and making sure everything kind of intertwines and it all makes sense. And I don't like to do many books throughout the week. So what I love about this is it focuses on all of the phonological awareness skills that we need to be focusing on, but it pulls it out of what you've been reading in that main text that you've been reading for that week. And it just makes sense for kids. I feel like, especially for those ELLs or those sweet and low babies, that it all just starts to tie together when you're really trying to make those connections. So let's break it down. I'm going to plan for writing first, and then reading, math, and then my social sciences. And my theme that I'm focusing on is Valentine's, and it's friendship. So I'm just going to kind of write that in here. Okay, so I know it has to revolve around that. Now I've already pulled a lot of different things too. So because I'm doing that theme, I went on ahead and pulled some various books and things that I would most likely like to use in my class. So the first one that I'm focusing on is Somebody Loves You, Mr. Hatch. I talked about this book in my February book faves, and this is the one that I'm going to be doing my close reading lesson. So because I know that I'm doing a close reading lesson, I'm going to go ahead and just write that in over here in this spot. And I have a feeling that I'm going to pull this day one, which is really just looking at what the text is saying. It's your basic level pulling information out of the book day. So I'm going to be pulling this day down here as well, because I know that it can do a comparison as far as what Mr. Hatch was like before he received his Valentine to the way he was after receiving his Valentine, and kind of looking at some of those personality and those character traits. So I'm going to pull this day down here. So and I'm just going to kind of put that there. So these are my main focus for my comprehension. Now the way that I do my reading workshop, I don't do different rotations where we come in and come out, like we have whole group and then we go out for a small group and we come back for whole group. I guess that's your daily 5 model. So if any of you are familiar with daily 5, I used to do that, and I don't do that anymore. I haven't been doing it for, I think this is my 2nd year now, and I'm very pleased with how I handle reading workshop. So I really just focus on my comprehension lesson here, and then I also do phonological. Now I told you about those, let me see if I can pull that paper out. I told you about these here. The way it's done is that day 1, you're not really doing much. You're just focusing on reading the text. So I won't have any phonological here. But if I have to kind of go by how Harcourt does it, so I have to introduce my high frequency word. We have a focus letter for that week, and I don't really teach letters by the week. We just kind of have a focus letter, and that's mainly for my kids who haven't quite learned that letter all the way, and we'll do some fun activities with it, but that's really about it. And then so high frequency word, we'll do our letter, and then we also have our chunk that we're focusing on, but I will have that in my morning. So I don't have anything that I'm doing here. But if you'll notice here, after you've read the book, then you're gonna start having different activities. So I'm gonna just put, for my phonological awareness, I'm just gonna add those here. Okay, so there's my phonological, I got that in there. Now, each day during my morning meeting, I'll have different activities that I do with just high frequency words, letters and sounds, the chunks, etc. So all of this is going to get tied into there, and that's my quick explicit phonics lessons that I have to do. Okay, so now, I guess I said that I was going to do writing workshop, but I went on ahead and started filling reading workshop in. So I know I have my close read day 1, my close read day 1 continued here. And that's going to be my last day. So over here on this day, I can do some other type of lesson with a different book, but I try to focus on 4 days with the same book, and then this book is also going to try to get tied into reading workshop. H. So this week's letter is going to be H. This is going to be really messy. Sorry, guys. It's going to end up looking crazy, but that's just how my brain works. High frequency word. So I've already done me for where do you look 1C, and now I'm doing what and to. What and to. And I've taught ought and op. And it wants me to do ox. So we're going to look at ox as our chunk. So I have my high frequency word, my letter and my sound, and my chunk as well. So that's all in there. Okay, perfect. So, okay. For my writing standards, it's wanting me to use a combination of drawing to compose opinion pieces. So we're focusing on opinion pieces. Great. So I've already done a little bit of opinion pieces, but it was your very basic, I like blank because blank, or I do not like blank because blank. And they were giving one support and understanding that that support had to be some sort of a fact. So I guess this week I'm going to take it just a little bit further than that. And I try to incorporate various forms of writing and not just opinion writing, because you're going to get sick of opinion writing if you do it all week. Let's do this. So I like to do informational, I like to do narrative, I like to do opinion. I want to try to incorporate all of those. So how about, because I haven't really read this book and I don't want to do my close reading during writing workshop, so I might do something else here. And I actually went online and I looked at this. So if you haven't seen the website Wonderopolis, it's really, really cool. And there was a Who is Your Valentine? And it's kind of asked, have you ever wondered who is your Valentine? How old is the oldest Valentine still in existence today? How many Valentines are sent each year? So it kind of gives you a little bit of information about Valentine's Day here. And I can incorporate pulling in some of that Valentine's Day vocabulary. So how about we go through and read Wonderopolis, read Wonderopolis, pull out vocabulary, and then we'll do an informational on Valentine's Day. And this can be as simple as on Valentine's Day, blank. So it could be as simple as that for your lower kids, and for your higher kids, you may want to pull out some of the information that you get from the Wonderopolis. And this is a website, so I would just pull it up on my smartboard. So reading Wonderopolis, pulling out vocabulary words, talking about doing an informational writing, and then I guess for my low ones, it would be on Valentine's Day, blank. On Valentine's Day, you get chocolate. On Valentine's Day, you wear pink and red. On Valentine's Day, you give a Valentine's card. So it could be something as simple as that. It doesn't have to be too crazy, especially it being kindergarten, if that makes sense. Okay, so I have this one day here. So the bulk of my week, which is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I will focus mainly on opinion writing. So here, because I've already read this book about Somebody Loves, we will talk about our opinion on Valentine's Day. So what of the times my kids will say, I like Valentine's Day because it is sweet. Well, you're giving an opinion and supporting it with another opinion. You can't do that. You have to give an opinion and support it with some type of fact. It has to be something that, you could say, I like Valentine's Day because I get chocolate. Okay, well, that's true. People do give chocolates on Valentine's Day. So that could be a fact that supports to that opinion. So we'll talk about that. And we'll go back over cops. Go back over cops. And then we'll do a share. So that some of my kids who didn't quite get it here, once we share and I start showing them some of the other kids' work, they'll start getting more ideas, and then they can go back and feel a little bit more confident when they're writing. And COPS is just a way that we check our sentences. C stands for capitalization, O is organization, P is punctuation, S is spelling. So there's that. Here we will talk about writing. Because Friday is going to be our Valentine's Day, what I think I'm going to do is, because we always do cards for parents, we'll work on cards. And that kind of leads more into opinions too, because the card that I've done before, and I can show you guys this, but I keep binders for every thematic unit. This one's kind of crazy and messy, but you kind of get the gist. So we've done a card in the past, and this is where I get all of my stuff. But we've done these and opened it up, said, I love you because blank. And it had, I know this looks awful. How did I do it? Don't really remember, but we did little fingerprints, and the kids got to choose which fingerprint they wanted to do. Put that back in there before I lose it, to do their card. And I think we did it on here. I'm not really sure, to be honest. I think you're very tweet. So we'll work on cards, and if they want to do extra cards, I have these Happy Valentine's Day from, so they can make some type of small card. And that will continue with that. Oh, look, here's one. Oh, yay, I thought I kept one. I was starting to think that I did. I heart you. Oh, okay. Yep, look at that. Look how cute that is. So it's a really simple card, but then the kids can go back and, I can't open it now, do a writing, I love you because blank. So they're giving us support of why they love their mom and dad. So nice and sweet, simple, to the point. Okay, so my video cut off. Apparently I talked too much. Sorry guys. And I think the last thing that you guys saw was about the cards and the fingerprints, I'm assuming. So I needed to fill in this last spot for reading, and you guys didn't see that. But I talked about how I pretty much have the bulk of my book here, which is Somebody Loves You, Mr. Hatch, and I needed to find something here. Well, last week I was out for 2 days, and so, you know, when that kind of happens, that things just don't go right. So I wasn't able to do this book here, which is The Honey I Love, and I also talked about this in my February book favorites. And it's about just visualization and inferring meaning. So I really do like the Honey I Love book because it talks, you know, just the words, the vocabulary, and just the things that you can picture in your head. And I feel like kids relate really well to this. So the day is hot and icky and the sun sticks to my skin. And, you know, they could say, oh, she might be sweating because it's really hot outside. Mr. Davis turns the hose on. Everyone jumps right in. The water stings my stomach and I feel so nice and cool. Honey, let me tell you that I love a flying pool. I love to feel a flying pool. But that's a really great poem. The only thing is it's really long for what I want. So what I might do is just have this part as a visualization for me to model for my students. So I'll model how I'm picturing things for each part of this poem itself. And then I found there was another one that I really liked, and it was this one. And I like it just because it's really simple and it's short. I look pretty. Mama's shiny purple coat, giant size shoulder bag to tote. Tall shoes and pantyhose, big straw hat with shiny bows. I look pretty, I float, I smile, I pose. So they can talk about, you know, what is she doing in the story while she's trying on her mom's clothes, and then they can go back and do a drawing. So that's what I'm gonna do here in this spot. And I just wrote down, Honey I Love, and I'm gonna model Honey I Love, and then they're gonna go back and on one page, and it says I feel pretty, which is independent. And what that means is it's literally going to be a paper with that poem written down on one side, and then it's going to have a spot for them to draw what they visualize from that poem. So I've done in the past something where I lay my kids down, I turn off all the lights, and I read the poem about 4 or 5 different times, and they all kind of close their eyes and they're just listening to my voice. And then that's when I give them their sheet and I tell them to go back and tell me what they visualize. So that's what they'll do there in that spot. So now I have my writing mapped out, my reading mapped out. So I have to go through and do my math workshop. So for math, I pulled out, again, my county kind of has like a pacing guide. Now this isn't like set in stone, I have to be on this day for that. You can be off of it by like 2 weeks and still be okay, because we have a ton of flex days which are meant for county collections, but again, you know, those are there for in case some of these things need to be retaught to your students or they're just not grasping that concept. So I have not started my shape because again, I was out last week and I like to be the one that introduces the actual activity. Okay, so here, if you haven't seen Shape Zoo is awesome. And it just kind of shows the different ways that they are able to form animals. Well, I've got this one off of Kids Soup, I believe. I'll leave a link to that down below. That you have to have a subscription to, but it's really nice to have. So this one says the fish has one big orange heart too. But they're making the shape of the animals out of hearts. Okay, are you thinking what I'm thinking? It's Valentine's Day, it's hearts. How perfect would that be? So what I think I'm going to do is, I'm gonna read Shape Zoo here. Okay, let's look and see what it is that I have to be teaching from here next week. So, okay, that was 1.1. This is 1.2, 3, and 4. Okay. So that was this. See, so this is wanting you to make a shape picture, which, you know what? I might do this. So this day, okay, so here is my V-Day party. Now, what happens during this is we will pass out our candy, and then we're gonna make our books. So I have Valentine's Day books that we will make, and they'll glue down, and then we'll do some graphing with those as well. So that'll be during this, and then I'm not doing anything fancy for my snacks. I might either do donuts or cookies. But that's all I'm doing. That's all they're gonna get for Valentine's Day on that one. We're not gonna do anything really huge. So that means that during this, that actually might tie into this part because we're graphing, so that'll go into here, which would be nice. So really, I'm gonna wanna do my zoo shape animal here. No, I don't. I take that back because I want to put it out in the hallway. So we're gonna do zoo animals here, and we're gonna make those. So that can actually tie into here, and that can go into my science social studies time, so that we can still have. I'll read Shape Zoo, and then I'll still have my rotations, and then their zoo animals can actually tie into this spot, which is perfect. Yeah, so let me, you see where all my thinking's happening, right? So zoo animals will be here. Shape Zoo. You see why I like to use pencil too? So really I'll have calendar, I'm gonna do dot cards, number talks for our warm-up, number talks, and then we'll do shape zoo. And then I'm actually gonna go ahead and do, we'll do shape zoo here. And then I will do 1.2 circles and patterns. And then we'll have our stations. We're gonna be busy tomorrow. Woo! Okay, so if I'm doing that there, that means that on this day, I'm gonna do 1.3. Instead of clay shapes, we're gonna do marshmallow. No, clay shapes, what is that one? That's not where I do that. All right, so today we're gonna make clay shapes. I gotta remember what it is that we're doing. Oh, so they're just doing that. So they're building shapes from, not clay, but we used Play-Doh in the past. Sorry guys, I'm thinking. So yep, I'm gonna do 1.4 here and then 1.5 here. And then our book of shapes, which is 1.6. Reading our book said, read the book of shapes you created from student shape pictures together with the class. Okay, so that, because I'm gonna do that during, this is talking about the shapes, but remember I said that I was going to do that during one of my stations for the next week. So we will read our book after we do that. And I can make one of these similar sheets. So I'm going to put this down, but make. And I'll write that down there. Okay. So then I'm all caught up, guys. That's awesome. And then we have Valentine's party here. So that pretty much gets all that done. So I have shape zoo animals here. Okay, now for my science social studies. So we're gonna do shape zoo with zoo animals here by creating one of our zoos. So we'll also probably read these. And then I have a few other things that we can do. So I have done in the past these little bags here like this. So when it sits down, the little legs come out. I really enjoyed these last year. They were really cute. So I think we're gonna do those again. So let's do, I need to make my bags. Let's do it here. So make bags. So that'll give me a day just in case. Make bags for B-Day. Okay, now I want to talk to you guys a little bit about I'm gonna add some space right here. My math workshop, my stations. I told you this is gonna be really chicken scratch. So I'm really sorry guys. I'm checking to make sure that it's still on. So here's kind of what I had planned. So C is for computers. So we do iPads and nothing's changed there. CH, this is hands-on. So here's what I was thinking about my hands-on activities. I came up with, and I wanted to, whenever I plan for my math stations, I always think about what I taught the previous week because that's what they're going to be focusing on that week. Does that make sense? So since I'm doing shapes here, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be teaching shapes inside of my stations because they're not all the way familiar with this yet. This is where I'm doing the bulk of my teaching, and then next week they're going to reinforce that skill by practicing it independently or with partners. So last week I did arrangements of numbers and being able to visualize numbers. So here's kind of what I came up with. Let's pull some of that out. I have a huge hot mess. Okay. So for hands-on, I made this whole part mat. And what I'm gonna do is I made these two. And these cards, it's only focusing on 4, 5, and 6. I want to make sure that my kids can master combinations of 4, 5, and 6 before I move them on any higher than that. So I'm going to laminate these, cut them out, and I'm going to put them onto a ring. So then what my kids will be able to do is with markers, they're going to build 5 on their hole. They're going to move 2 down here, and then they're going to realize that they have 3. So then they have to be able to say 2 and 3 make 5. So that's the idea of it. It's hands-on. They're being able to see and visualize and see how the numbers move, and they're being able to put them back together. So that's for my hands-on activity. So whole / part. CHA is apply. Ooh, I found this, and she is awesome. I was so excited that I found this. If I can find it now. If you guys could only see my table the way it looks right now on the other side, it's crazy. Okay, so here's the applying part of it. And applying means that pretty much they're doing it independently. It's either something that is a sheet like this, or it's something that goes into their journal, but they're applying it. They're applying what they've learned so far in some way. Now, this I'm going to keep and pull it and put it into their data binders, which is just a way for me to keep track of what they've learned. And if you haven't seen that video, I'm gonna link that down below too, so you can see that one. But this one, what I loved about it was that, Emily Hutchinson, I'll leave a link down below where I found this. But it talks about the way you can visualize numbers. So they may see 3 and 2, but they're going to circle the 3 and they will circle the 2, and then they're going to write those 2 numbers down. So it's showing me how they're visualizing that number and how they're seeing the dots. And I'm going to stick this in their data binder. So that's what they're doing. Part, whole page. CHAM is with me, and we are going to do it with plates. If you've seen this one, is this how it looks? That's not how it looks, is it? I messed up on that plate. That plate doesn't look right. So it's a plate like this, and then it goes like that. Oh, like that. That's the way a plate looks like. Okay, and then we're going to just work with manipulative. So I'm going to show them a dot card. So dot cards, manipulatives on plate, and that's what they're going to do with me. CHAMP, so partner. And I'm talking about dot cards. So here's some dot cards that I made for kids to do with partners. I'm going to laminate these and cut them out, and they're going to, because we've done so much of this whole group, that I feel like my kids can do this with partners now. But I want them to flash it to their friend for 3 seconds, turn it over, and I want them to use the sentence card. I'm gonna write them on sentence strips, but it's gonna say, what did you see? So they have to say, I saw, 3 and 3, that makes 6. So it's getting them to be able to use that vocabulary and practice doing it with each other. I feel like the kids will take a really big pride in kind of putting their shoes in, pretending to be Mrs. Spackman almost. So I hope that this works out as well as what I'm thinking it's going to work out. But this is what they're going to do for partners. So heart dot cards. So there is my math stations done. So I have writing done, reading done, math is done with their stations. Remember, here's where I'm going to do the book. So we're going to pass out and we're going to start creating their books because there's graphing involved here. So that's how I'm going to put that into play. We have zoo animals here, making our Valentine's Day bag. So here's my craft for that week. So I have that done. Now I can go back to my checklist. Okay. So let's see, high frequency word, we said that it was what into, check. Phonogram is ox, check. We said letter and sound is H. Poem, ooh, I have a poem. Let's pull it out of here. I do have a poem. I have a really cute poem that I've done in the past. There it is. And this one goes to the tune, You Are My Sunshine. Ah, perfect. Done. Okay. Okay, so sorry, it cut off again. So what I did was I clipped together all of the resources that I'm going to be using that I already have pulled to my little planning checklist. I went through math centers are done, writing math. I have pretty much all of my reading done. I need to go through and do my phonological for my book, and that's with this. So all I do is I sit down and I start filling out all of these different things. So counting words in a spoken sentence, how many words are in this sentence. So I'm just going to write sentences down from the book here. Rhyme recognition, etc., etc. So I'll just write those in and then I can clip this to that. But I'm not going to do that with you guys in there. If you want to see something like that, leave me a comment down below and I'll be more than happy to show you how I go about that. So now I can do my literacy centers. Now I do something called SMART centers, which is not a daily 5 thing. It's something totally different. So it's based on kind of that reading workshop model, and again with just making everything kind of connect and for it all to make sense. So I do 5 of my literacy centers, and what I'm going to do okay, so SMART centers, and let's pull out some of those things. So again, SMART centers is just a little bit different. What I do is I have just kind of like this IKEA shelf, and there are 5 green tubs. So the kids know that they're going to have 5 different activities that they have to complete throughout the week. Now this is something that makes them be a little bit more responsible, because this is not something where I say, okay, Johnny, you're going to go to this one today, and then tomorrow you're going to go do this one. And little Abby, you're going to go do this one today, and then tomorrow you'll do this one. It's not me telling them what they have to do. It's me saying up front, okay guys, you have all these different activities. I'm going to show you what you have to do for these activities. If you have questions, ask 3 before me. Other than that, you're responsible for getting these things done. So they have to sit down and independent read for about 10 minutes. And then after they're done independent reading, I will open up reading workshop and I'll say, listen, at this point, you can do SMART centers, you can work with partners, you can work independently. It's your choice. Either way, you just have to understand that everything has to be done by the end of the week. So thinking of that, here we are, we're good. All right, so let's talk about smart centers. So one of the first ones that I do, and I always have this, and it's what is her name? It's the MoFat Girls, and it's works on chunks. And so my kids always do that, and we will do ox. If she has that one, I gotta make sure. I gotta check on that. Okay. And then okay, and that's it. It's a wrap, guys. So all of this stuff is now going to get clipped with this stuff. But that's it. think we've gone through pretty much everything. Okay, so a couple of things that I didn't do with you guys. I didn't show you the phonological lesson. If I did, this video would last, I feel like 2 hours, because I could honestly be on this forever, and that would include me fast forwarding through certain parts. And I didn't show you how I plan out my close read. Now, if this is something that you would like to see, how I plan out a close read, how I do my phonological or small group plans, please leave me a comment down below so that I know how to do this. This was just because I wasn't able to do my vlog, this is the next best thing that came to my mind. So if you guys want to see any of those, let me know. But other than that, that's about how my lesson plans look. I know you're wondering, why in the world does she not have anything here? Because my kids have a lot of activities that they're doing during reading, because they're not only doing smart centers here, but they are also given different activities to do here. So like this day, they're gonna have a comparison. So that's a lot of stuff that they're gonna be doing that day, and they may not even be able to get to all of this. So a lot of the times they'll get extra work from their small group lessons or small groups that they'll have to go back and complete it in their own time. So this time that they're doing this stuff ties into science and social studies. That way I can also work on data binders here, I can work on assessments here, I can pull other small groups here. But if I come up with anything else, I mean, I can add it there. Other than that, I mean, our time constraints with math workshop, and by the time we're able to get packed up and ready to get rolling, that's about all. That is a wrap for my plan with me for the week of Valentine's week. I really hope that this kind of gave you some really great ideas of how I plan my lessons for the week and how I make all of those connections. If you're interested in any of the resources that I used for my plan with me, I'm going to leave a link down below for all of those resources so that you can go and check those out. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I will be happy to answer them as quickly as I possibly can. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up so that I know if I should do these more often. Thank you guys so much for watching, and bye! Today I wanted to talk to you about data binders and collecting student data within your classroom and how to organize it. So last year I got really intrigued